Good evening, and thank you. My apologies for running in at the last minute. We're going to call this regular board meeting for March 26, 2018 for the Akron Public School Board of Education to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander.
Present.
Mrs. Baylor.
Here.
Mr. Bravo.
Here.
Mrs. Lasher.
Here.
Mrs. Mansfield.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Reverend Walker.
Present.
Thank you. Joining us tonight for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to chat beforehand, but I'm sure you're going to do great, is J. Anthony Wharton, a 5th grade student at Judith Resnick CLC. He is a principled young man, comes to school every day prepared to learn. He takes his academic work seriously and has proven his academic efforts by being on the honor roll each marking period this year. J. Anthony serves as an ambassador for Resnick CLC. He has balanced his schoolwork with his extracurricular activities, has taken Taekwondo for 6 years, and is a 2nd degree black belt. He takes Korean lessons from a family friend to honor his mother's heritage, and he plays baseball and is an outfielder for his team. This year, he was on the track team at Resnick and placed 3rd in the relay race. His principal, Kristen Booth, said that J. Anthony lives the IB learner profile, and they could not be more proud of him. J. Anthony, will you join me?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you want to tell us who you brought over today?
I brought my dad, my little brother John Paul, and my mom. My principal and
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to be joined by students and to hear all of the great things that you're doing. And thank you for not giving me some... would have been my fault for being late. All right. With that, community and school reflections. Would anyone like to start?
I can start. We had the privilege of sharing in my brother's keeper's subgroup meeting with Carla Sibley when we, it was offshoot of the meeting that we held on President's Day, and we committee, this group is dealing with Head Start all the way up to 3rd or 5th grade for 3rd grade reading, and it comprised a good group of other non-public Akron Public schools as well as Father's Initiative and others that are real concerned about our children and their behavior. I mentioned with the group that that's just a direct, almost offshoot. Everything that's happening in Head Start is happening in our Akron Public Schools, as far as looking at some of the behavior trends, some of the things that they need help in. So we saw a lot of those things. So I referred many of those persons to the special committee under the leadership of Mr. Miller, and I'm sure many of them will take advantage of that so that we can work together to be able to help each other. The behavioral committee met, and we had the opportunity to sit down with not only staff, but with our community leaders that were present, Bishop Joey Johnson and Mr. Jeremy Lyle and his wife, as we began that process to organize. And Mr. Miller, I'm sure, will be saying some more about that. Went to the library where Senator Vernon Sykes and others set up a panel dealing with redistricting. And of course, that may not appear it has anything to do with us, but of course, federal funds come down to the states, and how we're lined up and redistrict does affect us and will affect, funding. So we needed to look at that to make sure that that was going to be fair and equitable redistricting of our legislators So that was very interesting panel discussion. I attended the Lebron James hometown activity at North High School, and it was well attended and excellent turnout on the part of not only students, parents, but also a special group called the Bureau, which many persons made up of Penn State, University of Mississippi, and I think Radford College. They were part of that, part of a group that looks at how they can help us guide and direct our students later on as they move through our system. And then I attended the pastoral care luncheon, retirement luncheon. I don't know if he really will ever retire, for the Reverend Artledge. And we're grateful for the huge turnout of persons honoring him, board members that were present. But the community, 45 plus years working in that area is outstanding. And I had personally opportunity to work with him when I pastored right across the street from where he was assisting in ministry at Trinity Lutheran Church. I'll make it Amy's Eye Church, Trinity Lutheran. So I had the opportunity to partnership with him in that endeavor as well. And then a while back, I had the opportunity to go and share. Firestone students had an art exhibit. Many of the students were members of the IB program. One of the most interesting art exhibits I saw was a young lady took images where we would normally see a female image, they put a male. So you wouldn't normally see a male unclothed from his waist up, shaving. Or you wouldn't see a female, rather, in that regard, but you put a male. You put a male in an image where normally you would have a female character in that. And her emphasis was she wanted us to think about how we would look, how we would react when the gender relationships are switched. So it was a very challenging exhibit, and members of the IB students who were part of Firestone, that's will be eventually part of their grade for some of those students. And many of them did a great job. They were able to explain the artwork and represented us very well.
Thank you.
This will go down the line. I want to mention Reverend Arledge and the pastoral counseling retirement, quote unquote. But one thing that stood out that he said that I loved, he talked about, he was, dealing with, I think, 3,000 children, and with this change in life, he's going to deal with 3 or 4. I forget how many grandkids he had now. Was it 4? Okay. He's going to concentrate on 4 kids now instead of 3,000. So best of luck to him with his grandkids. But I got to go to the Art in the Middle program for Akron Public Schools at the library this weekend. Wonderful, and I posted on Twitter and on Facebook a lot of different images and a lot of the award winners from that. But it's amazing the art talent we have in all of our middle schools. I hadn't been there for about 5-year time period, but it impressed me as much as it did 5 years ago when I was there. Went to East PTA meeting. They had a thing on crisis prevention. It was a good discussion. Like most PTA meetings, they're struggling to get the P part, parent involvement in the PTA meetings. We had, I think, three board members were there. The Akron City Council person was there. Talked a lot about, there was teachers from the feeder grade schools. Talked a lot about safety, and the conversation actually turned a lot about how to get the parents energized and get them back in the building and participating again, which was sort of off topic but relevant there. I think Bookable PTA meeting, that is a strong PTA. They have a lot of parents, a lot of alumni that don't even have kids in that building anymore participate in that PTA. I don't know if there's something for other PTAs to learn from them or not, but they have a good, at least the 2 meetings I've attended to date, the last 2, very good participation of the community in that PTA. the Akron Rotary. I was a guest, I'm not a Rotarian, but my wife's a Rotarian. I was a guest of hers last week when the Rotary gave out 5 scholarships to Akron Public School students in our career programs. And that was on the heels of late February, they gave out 4 scholarships to other career tech Akron Public School students, and later this month they will give out scholarships again to different Akron Public School students for academics, not necessarily the career side, but that's something that the Rotary does every year. And just want to give a shout out to the Rotary for doing that year after year after year. They do exemplify their motto, service over self, and every day in that program. And lastly, I'll mention these two together. Akron Roundtable, they had Jewel Bickford there. She, among other things, is with a program called Paradigm for Parity. And I'm going to sort of put this together with the other thing I went to. Summit County Historical Society had their Women's History Project where they honor Women of the Year in 4 or 5 different categories annually. And then I'm going to steal something that Don Taylor said as he was introducing Jewel Bickford at the Akron Roundtable, but he was talking about, you know, his struggle to have gender parity in his household with Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. And I sort of joke, I've been in that same struggle for a lifetime with my wife and raising 3 daughters. The gender parity is reversed and, you know, not necessarily on the male side in that, but all great programs and very worthy subjects to talk about in all seriousness. Thank you.
So, several of these events, I was also in attendance, so I'm not going to regurgitate what's already been said. One activity that was not yet mentioned was the performance at Firestone High School of Chicago, and how those young people really, it was an excellent performance. They did so well, and I really enjoyed it. That's the first one that I've attended of that nature, but it was really good to see the talent that the students displayed during their performance, and just the reception from the students from the door all the way through the auditorium, all the way through intermission, and on back out the door. I mean, they were very consistent with their manners and their greetings and things like that, making all the guests feel comfortable. So I just want to point that out because sometimes we fail to look at that, but they were very cordial and very good with their customer service. So I can appreciate that. Thank you, Principal Johnson. Also the Lebron James Family Foundation activity, which Reverend mentioned, and it was very well attended, and it was really good to see that many parents and students out. And it was just, I don't know, it was a peaceful celebration. It was just this vibe that was just so calming. And I was just like thrilled to see that it was so open in there, because I guess they moved the bleachers and things back. And I guess we did some renovations or something there since I had been, gone. So it was just a wonderful atmosphere. Just really nice. And we did have an opportunity to meet the president of Bradford University and also Southern Miss, and they're working with our children, which I'm going to do an update on that a little bit later on. So that's really all I wanted to say about that. I have some other comments to make about the march and our youth, but other than that, that's my reflections. Thank you.
I also went to Pastoral Counseling to see Dr. Arledge in his retirement session. But one thing we failed to say about Dr. Arledge is all the kids that they've served over all these years, and that's what it's all about. It's about the kids, the students that we help in our school district. So it's always nice to have that additional help that we can get for our students who may need the additional help. Also, my wife and I were asked to go to Helen Arnold, and we presented on the safety of guns and gun violence, because it's been so big around the country with guns and gun violence that we were asked to come and do a presentation. So we presented at Helen Arnold. The students were very, very well receptive of what we spoke to them about. We had a little bit of cartoons, a little bit to show them that to talk about gun safety as well. But it was really nice, and it was really good that Principal Monica Davis and her staff of things that they did there. And I think it's in the time now we need to talk to our students about guns and gun safety, and we need to talk to them at an early age. Let's not wait till they get in high school and be like some of these other students who end up carrying guns to school or have guns and end up hurting someone. So we need to talk about gun safety early. And then this one wasn't anything that I went to, but it was something in my job at the court. And Judge Teodosi was always so close to the edge of doing all these different things. But she had the staff look at a documentary about a young man named Khalif Brower. And I don't know if anyone knows the story of Khalif Brower, who's a young man who was 16 years of age in the city, in New York, Brooklyn, or Bronx, I'm sorry, and who got sent to prison for 3 years, and he did nothing. He was never even convicted. And after 3 years, they found him not guilty. My point is this, kids like that get pushed into the school to prison pipeline. That's something we don't want to happen. And so we have a lot of control over the students' lives that we have, and we have to take that very serious and be able to give them what they need so that they don't fall into the cracks like this young man did in the prison pipeline. And that was very sad, and the kid ended up committing suicide. You know, and that's very sad. Here's a kid who was very bright, came out of the institution, went to college, had a 3.5 grade point average, was going on, but due to all the mental problems that he encountered, issues in prison that he encountered that caused a lot of mental health issues, that he could not shake it and committed suicide. We don't want that to happen to our students. We want to prevent suicide. We want to prevent our kids from having issues like that. So I just wanted to encourage all of us to work hard, continue to work hard for what we're doing for our students. And if anybody wants to see that documentary, it is on Netflix. So if anybody really wants to look at it. But you look at it not just in the perspective of a prison, but look at it in the perspective of how it affected a kid's life who could probably done something very positive and very good for this country, but due to that system, never had an opportunity.
What was the name of that?
It's called the Khalif Brower documentary. It's very, it's sad, so you're going to get a little sad, but you're going to be a little angry as well to see the things that happen to individuals like this, especially kids. And that changed a lot for students in Brooklyn or the Bronx. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I feel like I just got to start with the March for Our Lives, and I saw a couple of, you guys are now celebrities for me in the back. Kudos to all of the students who organized that. It's incredibly well organized. I got to watch a little bit from 400 West Market as that massive crowd. I just couldn't believe it kept coming. It was amazing. The speeches downtown. Fabulous job. I also got a tour, kind of a behind-the-scenes tour of North and the College and Careers Academy there. We had the principal, the academic coach, somebody from the Akron Children's Hospital system that's been a part of it, and a student walk me through the halls and explain what was happening from wall to wall and what it really meant to be in a pathway. And the student who was our tour guide was an entrepreneurship marketing pathway person. She blew me away. Let me know when you need an internship. She was fantastic. And the entire program really excited me, but also the connection that program had to such a quality organization like the Children's Hospital, and they actually had a person dedicated to help that. I was just really blown away by that. It was fantastic. And I also went to the Historical Society of Summit County Awards, and just wanted to mention that 2 of those award recipients had APS blood. They either worked from APS or graduated from APS, and those are just 2 that talked about APS in their speech. There were probably others who had connections, so I thought that was really, really cool. I also just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Alexander and some of the staff that helped me through my first policy meeting. I really appreciate you helping me navigate that world.
Wasn't me.
And I also had a couple of conversations with parents over the last 2 weeks. I've been trying to talk more to students and parents and teachers, and this conversation was especially positive. And I was like, what's going on? Is there anything that you wish you could tell somebody? Like, we just tell people. We already have told people if we have things we want to talk about. So they just felt like the system was open to their feedback and they knew the right folks to talk to. That was really encouraging. Thanks.
I want to follow up a little bit. I kind of saw the before with the walkout and got to attend and watch some of that. I just want to say how amazing our students are and our staff. Just how organized and how safe and how well thought out everything was in attending that. So just I was proud every moment of that day. I had a lot of good feedback from the community. Those who gave bad feedback and were negative, I honestly, after a while, just felt sorry for, because it was really, it was obvious how absolutely unhappy they must be in their own lives if you're going to say those kind of things about children. So I didn't have anybody reach out to me personally, but I know some of the kids did, and so that made me a little angry. But I couldn't have been prouder of our staff and how we maintained and turned, and how the students helped turn, and our staff helped turn this into such a learning experience about democracy, about civil disobedience, about standing up for what you believe in. So it's been a really proud couple of weeks around here for things like that. I did get to have a one-on-one meeting with some of the students that are here today from the Student Coalition Against Violence. And we're going to hear a little bit more from them later, so I'm not going to steal their thunder. But I will tell you that, they always say be nice to the generation after you because they're going to take care of you when you're older. We are in good shape because these are amazing young people that are coming up right now. I think about what I was doing at their age, and I thought I was doing something. And I look at the things that they're doing at 14, 15, 16 years old, and I feel like I need to get busy and catch up. So that was it's just been truly an amazing experience to get to know them. And one of the things, the committees that I'm working on that Mr. Bravo has texted me with, and it's kind of gotten pushed to the wayside because it's just actually been happening rather than being a committee, but is for student engagement. So I don't think we're going to have our hard time, Mr. Bravo, finding people to fill that, because we've got a very engaged group of young people. I also just want to talk about our families and our staff that came together for the fundraiser for one of our own. Those of you who don't know, we have a student from Firestone High School who's been gravely ill. It's very public, and so I'm not breaking any rules by talking about this young man. And his mom is also a staff member with Miller South. So the Miller South and Firestone families came together to hold a fundraiser. I got the opportunity to work a little bit for that, but I've worked on committees, and I'm sure all of us have worked on committees where you work for a year to put together a fundraiser like I saw put together in about 11 days. And they had baskets, and I think they raised over $7,000 in one evening with pasta and things like that. And the students served, and the parents served, and the staff was there, and everybody just came together in an amazing way. So just was really proud of our community in general. It was there were people from all over the city that came. It didn't matter what school this child went to or any of those things. So thank you everyone that had a part in that, especially Carolyn Stevens, who is a force of nature. And if I ever get in trouble, I will call her first because she is amazing. I want to point out the art that showed up at my spot today, because a couple weeks ago I told you I went to Mason and they had an art show and a ice cream social, and you could bid on the art, which this was a brilliant idea because I'm a sucker for art anyway. This one unfortunately does not have the artist's name on it, but I will show it anyway. I love this one. It's a watercolor of Ohio, and it's got a heart on it where Akron goes. And then this one does have the name on it, and this was by it's Sierra. Looks like Sierra. Sierra Underwood, and she's in 4th grade, and this is her homage to LeBron James. So this will go on my wall in my office because I also am a fan of LeBron James, and I have a judge who really appreciates art. So we will put this in the court office. So thank you very much, and I do owe them for the art. So Marilyn's going to make sure that we stay honest. And then also, I just want to throw down the gauntlet one more time to the board for canoes. Cardboard canoes are next week already, on the 4th. And no matter what happens, we need to beat Mr. Pendleton. That is. I've heard that Mr. Bravo is not going to be able to be there. He was the past holder of the title, so.
And if I'm not there to defend, then technically I'm still the holder.
He won last year, so. So if there's thinking to be done, then.
I said if I have free time, I'll come toss torpedoes.
So that is our goal next week. That's going to be really exciting. I know there's a lot of middle schools participating this year. It's the biggest so far. I think Mr. Spack said we're going from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. So look for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been trying for years. They've been threatened that if a board boat sinks, that there's lots of trouble to be had. So, but thank you very much, everyone. It's been a wonderful 2 weeks.
I had something. Reverend Walker gave me the segue. I was going to wait till whole business to bring this up, but our ad hoc committee, we did meet, and basically this is continuation of a discussion we had with the career academies on what an Akron Public School graduate would look like, and basically we're going to look at the successful Akron Public School graduate through the lens of behavior, discipline, and safety. And to date, I've got somewhere in the vicinity of 30 people, 30 organizations and or people confirmed to be at the table. We are going to meet the 3rd Friday of every month at the Andrew Jackson House, and I've got that reserved through November. So just want to, state that this is moving forward. It's going to be led by Bishop Johnson, Christy Lyle, and Jeremy Lyle. And we're going to start with discussion and go into dreaming and eventually come up with, some kind of a decision and move forward with, hopefully with what we discover. So just wanted to say that, but I missed my segue.
Well, it's perfect for me, though, because the first thing on my list was to say thank you for your leadership on that and for helping to pull that together. I know Reverend Walker and I attended that meeting, and that was mentioned earlier. I think it's a great start to kind of pulling together this conversation about school climate and school safety and student discipline. And I'm sure there will be spin-off conversations, as we've had even in scrimmage today, about physical security and some other things. So I'm sure we'll have some other spin-off conversations for that, but wanted to say thank you both, and thank you, Tim, for your leadership on that. And also, Lisa, your leadership. I know you're kind of working on the student engagement and leadership committee as well. And Ginger and I had a discussion at the last board meeting about coordinating our mobile meetings to get us back out in the community. So I know we've got lots of good things going on here, so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's kind of stepped up to help do those things. Wanted to bring up and propose tonight and sort of get an answer. We do have some conflict on our schedule with the April 9th board meeting. And so the proposal right now, since there's an extra week, is to shift the 9th and the 16th, or the 9th and the 23rd to the 16th and the 30th, and then that will still leave us at every other week. So without missing a beat, we'll kind of just keep that going. Does that work for most folks? Or?
I sort of already did it. So I'm good.
I won't be here the 16th, but I can't be here the 9th either. So.
Okay, so you're good.
We just might have to change finance committee.
Good.
Good.
Good. Bruce, you okay?
16 and 30.
Everyone okay? Based on our, recently, the good news that we received in the other decision with David staying, it's also time to look at calendars and get a board retreat on the calendar so that we can, among other things, I know we need to talk about, of course, I promise this fall we need to talk about the College and Career Academy's full implementation, our initiatives on early childhood education, and of course the board initiatives that we have going on and a few other items. So it's time to look at that. So I'll be sending something out to each of you to get some dates. Spoke with David, and the sooner the better. So we'll probably be looking at sometime in April if that works. I don't think there are going to be any slow months this year with all that we've got going on. So I will also be sending out something to each of you to set up some time to meet with you individually and just check in. So look for that. And then beyond that, I know that we have OSBA Spring Regional Conference coming up and NSBA Conference coming up. We've got the board votes coming up. We've got all kinds of, among all of the other things that you're responding to. So thank you for that. I know that we're all very busy and we'll try and be respectful of your time. The last thing I wanted to mention also was just to make my own just editorial and express my appreciation and my respect and just how proud I am as a board member for our students and how they've handled themselves. You know, when we have incidents around the country, like what happened in Parkland, and then when you couple that with sort of those things that you get afterwards locally, so we had a lot of threats, and though they were largely unfounded, and some of them even from other states that somehow got attributed to things at our schools that had nothing to do with us. That's a really scary thing for our students, and I don't think, I think it's easy, certainly we around the table appreciate it, but it's easy, I think, for those in the community to take for granted how much and how traumatic that can be for our students, how scary that can be for our students. And I'm amazed, quite honestly, both on March 14th and then this past Saturday, at the demeanor and the maturity and the respect and I mean, just everything that's kind of rolled into our students for them to be able to handle themselves through all of this the way that they did. I mean, and we had elementary schools and middle schools and high schools, and this board was very clear to our staff that we wanted to work with our buildings and have our buildings work with our students to let that day and those minutes reflect however they felt they wanted to express themselves, and they did that in spades, and it was just phenomenal. And to David and to Ellen and to Mary Otley Kelly and to Mark Black and to all of the principals that worked with our students to let our students express themselves the way they wanted to. You know, thank you for that. Thank you for letting them be on display. We saw things at STEM Middle School, the video, even the kids that didn't necessarily do a walkout, but did rather an assembly. We saw the Case Elementary, and Danielle Henderson's here, and we had Case Elementary, the walkout and the video, and then the story that made it to the New York Times. I mean, how phenomenal for us to be mentioned at that level and to help draw attention to things that are going on not only in this community but around the country. So I just wanted to say how proud we are of you and thank you for that, and thank you for our board members for participating where they could. And that's a great segue for the students that have requested to address the board today. And I have not had a chance to have a conversation with the Student Coalition Against Violence, but I do hope to do so. So I hope that we can sit down after this meeting and have a chance to talk to. So with that, we have, and I believe these are going to be addressed separately. If I
They can come up together if they want.
come up together if you'd like, or as many of you as you would like. But I have Megan May, and and if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Akira Hawley.
Yes.
Great, okay. And you can make your way this way. And Mr. Pendleton will help us keep time behind me. And whenever you're ready, the floor is yours, and thank you for doing that.
So they know exactly how much time. If they're doing things together or separately, they have?
Are you doing
3
it
minutes?
together or
We
separately?
have like 2 different speeches, but it probably won't even go over.
Separately is fine, that's fine.
We'll make sure they
We'll
get
be a
their
little
buffer.
Hello, good evening. My name is Megan May. I'm here speaking in front of you as a student activist for the Student Coalition Against Violence at Firestone CLC. My fellow peers and I have gathered together in response to the Parkland shooting and gun violence within our communities. We are here to present you the following demands. We demand a written statement from the board saying that you do not support the arming of any teachers, as this is an ineffective solution to a problem that needs to be solved at the root. This is a dangerous solution. This can be seen already, evidenced by the teacher in Georgia who barricaded himself in his classroom and fired his gun out of the window. Luckily, no one was hurt. Secondly, we need more counselors at our school, and if this is not possible, then our counselors need to be available for the students at APS schools. We need programs for teachers and substitutes to attend yearly that will update them on Alice drill procedures and how to have open dialogue with our students. We also need programs for our children and teenagers for specific room plans to escape in case of incidents. The drills in place are only directed to certain classrooms during certain times, when emergencies can come up at any given moment. Our students need to know how to get to safety no matter where they are. These demands are a way to start an open discussion so we can enact change. We, the students, do not have all the answers. Yet, the same can be said for the adults. We together must find the answers. We are calling on everyone to recognize this problem and come together to make this change. The system in place now is broken, and if we don't make change, we will continue to feel unsafe. We were told that we needed to take action, and so we have. We have come to you to request these demands, because we cannot do this alone. But with your help, we can change our situation and the fear that we face.
Just throw it out there. I'm really nervous, but please bear with me. Hello, good evening. My name is Akira Hawley. I am a 10th grader who attends Firestone High School. As you just heard my fellow SCAF advocate just give our wishes and demands for safety in our schools. These demands might seem extreme, but our students being afraid is extreme. Our students fearing a fire drill is extreme. Our students being frightened by a sharp, loud laughter in the hall is extreme. Students flinching when someone knocks on the door is extreme. The threat of death hanging over our head is extreme. For those reasons, we are here. We started off as standing in solidarity with Parkland, turned into not only fighting for safety in our schools, but for gun safety in our nation. It is sad that a tragic shooting in a school is no longer a surprise, but now quite common. We are here so that Firestone CLC or any other school doesn't have to become another tragedy. People all over the country have walked out of school, marched, and endured the brutal weather that has been present during our fight for safety. Gun violence and the lack of care coming from our guardians have led us here. Until that lack turns into action, we will stay and continue to our stand. We are the movement that this country has been waiting for. We are the voice that provides those to who that no longer have one. We are the voice that screams for revolution, and we are the voice that cannot be silenced. The time for silence has long passed, and the country has been quiet for far too long. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that and for being here today. I'm assuming we can get a copy.
Yes, I can forward
Okay.
it. Mr. Pendleton said I could forward it to him.
That would be great. And before you go, and I know we don't normally open it up for discussion after a request to address the board, but I would like to ask the board if they have anything they would like.
Just want to thank you for your advocacy and to remind you to continue that advocacy, but also remember next week, many of us will be in Washington, D.C. celebrate the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King. And it's a march against racism being sponsored by the National Council of Churches, made up of 39 different denominational fellowships, churches, etc. Case Elementary School, staff, principal, reminded us of the correlation of the 1963 Children's March, it was 63 around that time, in Birmingham, Alabama. You have fast forwarded to this time, this present day, to remind us that we also need to continue to be advocates along with you. So we salute you in coming to the board in a very excellent manner. Your suggestions, I don't want to use the word demand, but your suggestions don't fall on deaf ears. We've already talked about some of them already, and I know the board has made up its mind already on some of those areas that you talked about. But again, continue to hold up your head, continue to be the fine advocates that you are, and again, we applaud your spirit and your tenacity and the way in which you're doing things in a very peaceful and respectful manner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dilly dilly.
I just wanted to say thank you too for you guys' comments. A lot of those things, like Lebron said, is not going on deaf ears. And we are ultimately concerned for your safety. So that has always been at the forefront of some of our concerns for our students is your safety. So we will continue down that pathway. And for the young lady that said you're no longer silent, I'm so glad, because I apologize to you guys because I think as adults we've been silent too long about things that we should have spoken up about, to try to make some changes and do some things for your futures. But I do applaud our educators and our administrators and our board members because we are doing things to try to secure futures for you guys so that you can truly have a future, that you could be proud of and take over and move forward for the next generation that's coming behind you, because you're the leaders now. So you're going to have people following you, so you got to be prepared, and we're trying our best to prepare you properly so this can continue from this point on. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Couple of things. One of the things that I love the most about what I saw on Saturday nationally, and what I've heard from the speeches at Firestone, and what I heard tonight is I love that you made this more than just about being safe in school. It is about being safe in school, but you've made it also about gun violence in our community and how that there are people that come to school with us, with you every day. There are people in our neighborhoods that don't feel safe as well at home. So thank you for the acknowledgement of that, because I think that was something that came out of Saturday that I was really proud to see. I love that you guys are the voice of change. I think it's going to be amazing what you do, and I love that you want to work together. I think that if we all link arms together, because you aren't, you're not really totally preaching to the choir here, but you're pretty darn close, right? I mean, we are on board with wanting to keep you safe and that some things need to change. I know that when a couple of us met, there were a few things that I've already talked to Mr. Rambler about, and there are also some other things that we still need to talk about. But there were also things that you guys weren't aware of that happened too. So hopefully we can keep the dialogue open so we can keep talking together. Can I ask one thing? Can we have the others that came, that are in the group, stand up so that they can get recognized? Do you guys want to say? I'm sorry. Do you want to say your names? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that they would come up to the front,
yeah,
and
sure.
if Mr. Williamson is here, and if somebody would
Not,
take
we'll get a picture.
a photo of it, I think it's
This is like our whole leadership, so we're all pointing.
Great.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
So can you introduce yourselves when you get up here too, so they know who you are? I've met a few of you on Facebook, but
I'm Molly Brecker. I'm Ramel Bell.
Ryan Holmes.
Cody Cross.
And you emailed me.
Thanks.
One more.
Thank you, Paul.
There was a chant at the march that was, "This is what democracy looks like."
That's
And
right.
that
Oh,
is
yeah.
such a perfect
It
chant.
is.
And
Nice.
we promise you we will take
Yeah.
your demands and suggestions to heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think for those of us that, brought this up during community and school reflections, I mean, that is exactly what we're talking about. Our students are so phenomenal.
Yes.
And for them, to the two of you that came up here and spoke, and I know you said you were nervous, it didn't show. You were just fine. You were absolutely fantastic. And to the parents and the teachers and the supports that you have that help prepare you to come up and address the board like this, I mean, kudos to you all, and thank you for what you do, and for being, letting us be a partner in your lives and helping to raise these students to be able to do something like that. What a phenomenal opportunity, and just so glad that we're proud of you. We can't say enough, so great job.
I just also want to say thank you, Principal Johnson, for your leadership. These young people.
Great. If there's nothing else with requests to address the board, we do have a presentation, an update on our International Baccalaureate program, so I will turn the floor over to Karen Gigi. Yes.
Yes, Mr. President. Before you go into that, and Ms. Gigi comes forward, I do want to I missed the tour with the board, but I got an opportunity to go on a solo tour, which I appreciated, at Case. And one of the things that was highlighted at Case, which I was just astonished, there are so many rooms because of our IB requirement, where our children and the many counselors that are back there that will be recognized later on, where they can do a lot of one-on-one,
Right.
a lot of counseling, a lot of other activities, partners that we're going to be dealing with later on, where they can bring our students in and do so much to help them to be able to move through the process. The building was specifically, diagrammed, constructed to meet those needs. And so I applaud all of the parents, the principal, the staff, all of them, in making sure that that building is going to fit well in all that we're going to hear in just a few moments in the IB program. And I want to thank the principal at King. I got a chance to go with the kindergarten students there and to share with them in their beginning of their IB process. And I just want to share with the board, because of that, they graced me with this little officially an IB member. And so we want to thank them for this lovely cat.
I wonder what that was.
Thank you. All right. Gigi, the floor is yours.
Oh, yeah, that march on that other thing.
So we want to thank you for the opportunity to share Akron's progress on the International Baccalaureate path. Joining us here tonight are our leaders from Firestone, authorized International Baccalaureate Diploma Program School, Larry Johnson, Senior Principal, and Judith Harrison, IB Coordinator. Joining us from Litchfield, authorized International Baccalaureate Middle School Years Program School, Principal Diane Floyd, and IB Coordinator Sandra Klein. Joining us from CASE, authorized International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program School, Principal Danielle Henderson, and IB Coordinator Jen Victor. Also joining us tonight from Resnick Community Learning Center, our school in the application for authorization phase of IB, Kristen Booth, Principal, and Lori Wamas, IB Coordinator. Joining us from King Community Learning Center, candidacy phase of IB, Mary Dean, Principal, and Janet Lippincott, IB Coordinator. and joining us from Portage Path Community Learning Center in the application for candidacy phase of IB, Kimberly Summers, principal. So thank you, leaders, for being here. And during tonight's IB update, we expect that you will hear clearly that our Akron IB program supports Focus Area 1, rigorous teaching and learning. But we think you will hear many other touch points from our district focus to our International Baccalaureate program. You will hear about the connections in IB schools to focus on safe learning centers. You will hear about strong evidence of collaboration and public engagement. You will hear service learning and giving back to our community. And you will hear IB's connection to the APS mission to prepare each child for success. You will hear students in their own voice discuss their individual focus on results as academically prepared, well-rounded students. You're going to enjoy this IB update from our IB coordinators, Judith Harrison, Sandra Klein, and Jen Victor. So please give them your attention as they share tonight's IB update.
Good evening, Board President Bravo, board members, Superintendent James, Assistant Superintendent McWilliams-Woods. The last time we were here, we shared with you the attributes of the learner profile. Tonight, we would like to update you with the progress of our IB programs. Firestone is proud to offer the Diploma Program, or DP, Litchfield, the MYP, or Middle Years Program, and CASE, the PYP, or Primary Years Program.
This map that you see shows a star in each of the districts that offer the continuum of IB programs. If you look at where Akron Public Schools is and the surrounding states, it's important to note that Akron is the only urban district in Ohio or surrounding states that is offering primary years program, middle years program, and DP.
Okay. Continuum of learning is evident across all levels of the IB program. IB learner profile traits strengthen the learning experiences and provide skills that are transferable across all programs, grade level, and life experiences. Our IB students will be well prepared for high school, any high school academy that they choose through the educational experiences offered through the IB. The IB emphasis on student personal development and service learning supports the district-focused goals for high school graduates to be academically prepared and well-rounded. Listen to the learner profile and how it has impacted our students both in and out of the classroom. Notice the similarities that span across grade levels.
Communicators, caring,
reflective,
balanced, knowledgeable, inquiring, open-minded, principled, brave, thinkers. We were learning about endangered and extinct animals such as this white tiger. Our class was sad and we wanted to help them, and we were thinking of ways to help them, like building shelters. We decided to have a zoo member come over and help us. Helping animals is important to us.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Shakur Sistrom. J'ai assisté à l'école élémentaire CASE et je suis dans un sanguine à Collège Litchfield. Je suis en table à une cause de IB. J'ai assisté où le site Firestone dans la project Lead the Way. IB est dans le courage de percevoir. Je suis appreneur de IB.
At my IB school, I use technology to research topics I enjoy. I worked to create a Google slide about electricity. I enjoyed that we could work with partners. I think that it was more exciting than your teacher giving you a lecture. Also, presenting to my class was fun.
I'm a thinker as I look to solve my goals in and out of the school setting. IB has shown me that I can reach my goals. I will be attending Firestone High School in the Akron School of the Arts program. I'm an IB learner.
We do case com in the morning and in the afternoon and after lunch. We do case com when we're anxious, mad, or upset, so we feel better.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Grace Julie. I'm an 11th grader at Firestone CLC, and I use Inquiry every day. I transferred from STEM High School to Firestone for the IB program to advance my education. I want to change the world. My experience in IB with Inquiry is helping me reach that goal. Merci beaucoup.
I'm part of Student Council, and we took action to organize the personal care drive. We made posters, flyers, and announcements to ask people to donate. Kids at our school brought in personal care items for kids and children's services. We are happy to take action because we're helping children.
So we start off with a topic, and then we come up with questions for the topic, and we use the resources that our teachers give us to get the answers for the topic. And we will get multiple perspectives, not just one perspective, and then we make the difference in the community.
We made these boxes to put learner profile tickets in, so if we see something, one of our IB learner profile traits, we can help make them. Like caring or knowledgeable. When we make these boxes, we listen to each other's ideas, and if we disagree, we find a way to go find what we want. Like when we were painting these boxes, it was important for us to cooperate so that we all agreed on what we painted. Me llamo Abby. Mi escuela es Case. Español me ha enseñado a ser de mente abierta sobre otras culturas.
Hola, mi nombre es Paul Newman. As an IB learner, I've learned to be more reflective by transferring my skills from the classroom to the research lab at Cleveland Clinic, which has led me to become a first publishing author. IB has prepared me well for a career in medicine. Muchas gracias, Akron Public Schools.
All right.
The E2 grant, or Excellence in Equity, was awarded to Firestone last fall by the International Baccalaureate Organization. It is a 2-year grant which is directly tied to our district focus of closing the achievement gap. Specifically, the grant is designed to help us expand our DP and attract a more diverse student population.
IB students are actively involved in their schools and communities through partnerships. This is a scrolling list that shows activities that the IB learner profile uses and will prepare students to make exceptional contributions to their school and community.
As one of the district's many community sponsors, Kent State University has given its support to all schools, including our IB programs. While there is direct support at the MYP and PYP, the DP support is a direct tie-in to the college and career academy pathways through Kent State's partnership with Firestone and the Akron School of the Arts. If you look at the 4-year trend for our diploma program, you can see that Firestone has exceeded the state of Ohio, the United States, as well as the worldwide passing rate with an astounding 85.97% passing rate. Having completed the first 20 years of the program, we look forward to the challenges that await for us as we continue this positive trend, providing our students with a challenging education through IB and Akron Public Schools.
Okay, so at the middle school IB program is an all-inclusive. And one of our focuses at Litchfield has been to focus on differentiation and inclusion for our special education population within the IB program. As you can see on the slide, we have seen an increase in our MAP scores for students with IEPs in both English, language arts, and math, with an increase of at least 7 percentile points. We believe that 2 of the intentional supports contributing to this increase are Litchfield's co-teaching model, where all ELA and math classrooms have co-teachers. And we're also committed, a committed focus on meeting the students' individual needs.
Our data is a strong indication of the success that the IB program is bringing to the elementary school level. This is a sample of our third grade cohort, and as you can see in both ELA and math over the last 2.5 years, students have shown significant gains. Our fourth and fifth grade cohorts have similar success stories, both with positive gains. At this point in time for the presentation, we're not showing Resnick and King because they are still in their candidate phase and working toward becoming authorized. They will show you their data at a future board presentation.
Is that showing that you're being higher than the district averages as well overall?
Although we are IB World Schools, we complete the same testing and data collection as all other buildings in the district. Through IB, we also collect data in other ways as well. All of this work reflects the success our students are experiencing in academics and in life. We focus on the whole student, and the IB program goals are perfectly aligned with our district focus. Combined with teacher commitment and strong family support, we prepare each child for success.
In November and December of 2016, Litchfield and Case both became authorized, continuing the vision of offering this exceptional opportunity across all grade levels from pre-K through high school. Resnick is submitting their application for authorization and planning for the IB team to conduct their authorization visit during the fall of 2018. One of your agenda items at the meeting tonight is to sign this application. King is in the first year of their candidacy, and Portage Path will be submitting their application for candidacy this spring.
25 years ago, Akron Public Schools had the vision to bring IB into the district, and the diploma program began. As of today, over 500 students have completed the diploma program and gone on to prestigious universities with scholarships, Fulbright opportunities, and they've gone into a variety of professions.
So our superintendent and the board have paved the pathway and are leading the charge to continue these high-quality education programs at Akron Public Schools. We are the only urban district with the IB continuum in the state of Ohio. Thank you for supporting the plans that the teachers brought before you. And if you have any questions, we and our support team are happy to answer them.
And that's what we look like 25 years ago. Still looking. Well, I think it's important to note too, first of all, thank you. But important to remember that this was really building level driven from the bottom up, especially the most recent additions with Case and Litchfield, and now with Resnick and Portage Path, that this really has been something that has been driven by the staff and so important, and the work that you're doing and really driving that. I mean, it's really nice to see, and we would encourage our other buildings and our other clusters to take advantage of driving some of these types of changes in your own buildings. I think this board has shown that it's here. If you feel like you have some of the answers, we're willing to get behind you and support you. So thank you, and I'll open it up to questions or comments. Or
do we see, is the data showing that now that we do have this continuum, now that IB's not, wow, you can go pre-IB when you start at Firestone, how are the numbers? Are we seeing a lot more kids applying? Is it, going to what you talked about with the grant, are we seeing, just watching anecdotally, I know that the final graduates often are heavily female and heavily Caucasian. By the time we get to the very end in the past, are we seeing, some of that change as it's introduced earlier?
I can speak to the numbers. 2 years ago, when we counted the number of students applying from Litchfield, there were 19. A year ago, there were 20. This past open enrollment period, 26. So there is an increase, which we expect that trend to continue.
I think that there's a confidence that you all are building. I mean, I see particularly when I was at Case, and just how there's just an expectation. There's just this is who we are here. This is what we do here. And I think as that grows with the students, I think we're just gonna, I don't know, we might have to build a whole IB wing eventually, because it'll be so, so widespread. But I'm excited for what I've seen as it's moving up. It's like a wave.
Well, I can speak for numbers too. Not only are we seeing a lot of our students at Litchfield apply for the IB, but we're seeing them apply for everything that Firestone has to offer. So I feel like, and I'd have to look at the numbers, but we have more students applying for the arts, and you saw one of our students say Project Lead the Way. So all of our numbers have grown in how they feel confident that they can apply to those things. And some have been accepted into like 3 or 4 different programs, and now they're having to make a decision.
Right, and that's going to be the thing too. Once we have the college and career academies, who knows what they will take that they might not have thought of taking. So that's a very good point too.
I have a question. It's kind of on the part of what Ms. Mansfield mentioned. The diversity of the program, of the students in the program. Have we seen that change? And I'm happy for the program because my daughter was in the first class of the IB, so that's always proud to be a parent who has a child who come out of it. But I also want to know about the diversity of students who are applying or actually getting into the program.
Well, we have a very open and invitational process that aligns with the open enrollment period. We accept about 98% of the students that apply to the program. One of the reasons that we applied for the E2 grant was to take a look at the program and see what supports, what additional supports we could put in place so that we could increase those numbers. We have a number of students that come in. Typically, it's around 100 students that we accept, 8th graders coming into 9th grade. Some of those students are dual enrolled. They might be part of the Akron School of the Arts or Project Lead the Way. A number of those students, as they move through the high school program, decide that they want to go after College Credit Plus. So we lose a fair number to College Credit Plus. But how we can maintain those numbers and increase the diversity, that's what the work that we're undertaking right now.
And my next question will be for the administration. And you may have answered this here, are we looking at plans for the future for some of our other schools in the clusters to maybe either get part of what IB has in it or even applying for IB programming in those other clusters?
Yeah, I'm going to be meeting with staff in about a month to look at some of our building capacities at middle school and elementary school. Thank you so much. And to look at program changes, because I definitely believe that, our middle years program and primary years program can help our students, achieve at higher levels so they're better prepared when they go into whether it's the visual and performing arts programs at Firestone or the robotics program or Project Lead the Way, or they go into our college and career academies that'll be at all of our schools. So those are some things that we'll be talking about.
Great, thank you.
I like the succession plan. I've always thought it should start early. I mean, we started backwards, but it's okay. To come down to the elementary level and then, the stair step thing, so they're prepared on each rung so that they're not missing anything and falling through the cracks. So I really like that concept, and I'm glad to see that taking place. And the different offerings that you guys spoke about, I guess that's probably part of the reason some of the students that we might think didn't make it is because they made other choices. But I like the fact that they have choices that they can make, and more choices are forthcoming. So that's great. I mean, we have such a entourage of wonderful things going on in our Akron Public Schools, and as a district, and the numbers and the figures, and we're just pioneers on this thing. So I'm just proud of all the work that has been done collectively. Everyone in this room has contributed in some manner to the success that we are experiencing today, and then others that aren't here as well. So I'm just really proud to be part of this. So Does
that presentation get to go on our website or something?
I was just gonna ask
Yeah.
that. Can we have a copy?
That is, yeah, I like that.
Someplace that more people can see it.
Yeah, that's
We enjoyed it very, very much,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be selfish, let's spread that around.
Right. Yeah, that's
Quick
good.
question. Oh, sorry, Reverend.
I'll yield to my.
I'm just wondering how this lines up with the academies. Would students, are there certain pathways in IB, or students still can pick pathways and be in IB? Oh, thank you. Sorry.
We were really excited that IB, the PYP as well as NYP will really prepare our students, whether they do go to the IB or with any pathway, because it's building that 21st century skills that they will need, those soft skills, problem solving that will help them as they move on, through life. So we really believe that we started in elementary school and then moving through middle school, it's kind of like the expectation in your home. The expectation for our kids starting in kindergarten or pre-K is that, we expect you to be active participant in your community, to be, well-rounded, to be respectful, but then also to be a problem solver, to be an inquirer. So I think that it just goes beautifully, whether they choose IB, the arts, or any pathway. It's just, and out to employment as well. It's just a wonderful plan for them.
In the beginning, as in Case and Litchfield and King and Resnick, every student is an IB student. There's no separation. Every student is an IB student. As they move up the pipeline, of course, then they make their choices when they get into high school, what they want to do. But every student, it's tailored to their particular needs so that they get the IB being ingrained in the IB culture, so that they, as you're saying, have all those wonderful things when they get the opportunity, can make good choices for themselves and for their family, because they've been well rooted in the IB principles. So I think that's wonderful. Now, how do we get all of that in all of our other schools, so that that same kind of principles, world experiences, the young person said, I'm a thinker. I'm thinking already, I'm navigating already, I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that. Each school has a language. I think when I went to King, Spanish. When we heard French. So you have a language component that goes along with that. So again, Mrs. Gigi, well, you were correct. We enjoyed ourselves. I want to thank each of them. I had the opportunity of starting fresh with Case.
He listens to us.
It's wonderful to see where we've gone in such a short period of time, and for you, those who've been along for a long time, we appreciate your stick-to-itiveness, perseverance.
I just want to touch on the foreign language component. So that is unique to IB. Our elementaries have picked a language, either French or Spanish, and that feeds into Litchfield, and we offer French and Spanish. And then that feeds into the IB program, the DP program, which has French and Spanish as well. So there's a clear, actually at Litchfield, they can actually earn high school credit hours for foreign language before they even leave. Along with some math credit hours too. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you again so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, as we are clearing out, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes for the special meeting March 10th, 2018, and the regular meeting March 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any questions, comments, corrections on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mrs. Baylor?
Yes.
Superintendent's recommendations?
Mr. President, I have before me for your consideration 31 personnel recommendations. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval. And before taking that motion, I'd like Kathy McVeigh to introduce some folks that are in the audience with us this evening.
I have several introductions for you this evening. First, if Mr. Baldry, if you could please stand up. Mr. Baldry Ron Baldry is a graduate of Barberton High School. He attended The Ohio State University, where he earned an associate's degree in agricultural and material handling. And then he completed his training and earned his career education degree. Earlier in his career, he became involved in the automotive field. He worked as an ASE Master Certified Technician for Lambert Buick. In 2005, he became employed by the Ohio Technical College in Cleveland, where he became an automotive instructor in ASE certification. He was appointed to the Director of Automotive Electrical and Electronics, and his latest assignment with them was the Director of Curriculum and Professional Development. Mr. Baldry joined Akron Public Schools in 2006 and worked as an automotive trade teacher at Ellet High School. He is currently working as a career pathway specialist in the college and career academies with Akron Public Schools. And as a former district teacher of the year, Mr. Baldry is now ready to step in and become a college and career academy coach, and is confident that he will steer his team in the right direction as he takes the drive down that highway of success. Congratulations.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's always been a real privilege for me to get to serve the students at Akron. And I say it's a privilege, it is a privilege. And thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve our kids. So thank you.
Mr. Cundiff. Clayton Cundiff is a graduate of Field High School, and he was a 4-year letterman in tennis. He learned the importance of being an individual who followed his dreams. Upon graduation from Kent State with a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing, he earned his career education teacher license. He was ready to put his skills to work. His experiences were primarily in the culinary arts field. He was an executive chef for a number of years at a local restaurant, and he was a kitchen supervisor at another restaurant. He also was a long-term culinary substitute instructor at a career center. These positions prepared him for his assignment to become a family and consumer science teacher at Kenmore High School and a work and family teacher at Jennings. His culinary arts program at Kenmore was a highly respected program. Mr. Cundiff is now ready to show his love for his academic area, and there is no doubt he will serve his team well. Congratulations.
Appreciate the honor and the privilege. Just looking forward. I mean, I just really think the academies are just like a game changer, not only for the kids but the community, the school system itself. So looking forward to just the hard work, and we'll get it going.
I'm looking forward to some of that good food.
Before you go on, I've been on this board for 6 years. Have you been slipping these puns in?
That was a new thing for tonight. I was hoping you would notice. All right, Deanna Caldwell-Edwards. Ms. Caldwell-Edwards graduated from Orville High School and set her sights on becoming an elementary school teacher. She attended the University of Akron on a scholarship in track and earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in elementary education and child development. She returned to the University of Akron to earn her Master's of Arts degree in school counseling. She began her career as a substitute teacher, and after a brief stint with the Canton City Schools, Deanna joined the Akron Public Schools as a counselor. She has served in that capacity at Perkins Middle and Brookville CLC until the present time. As a former track star, she learned how to adapt and adjust to the various events in which she was assigned in order to be successful. She continued this pattern of success as a teacher and counselor. Now, Deanna will begin a new assignment as a college and career academy coach. There is no question that she will lead her team as they sprint to new heights.
I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm extremely excited. I believe the College and Career Academies is definitely the way that we need to be moving and pushing forward with our students. It gives them a voice, which is very important to me, to give students voice and make sure that they're doing what they desire to do in life. So thank you.
Morgan Schumacher. Ms. Schumacher, for Ms. Schumacher, the path to becoming a school counselor was quite unique. While attending Shelby Senior High School, Morgan was involved in basketball, track, and cheerleading. She was also involved in a program called Future Farmers of America, where she participated in local fairs. These varied experiences led her to Bowling Green State University, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Sociology. She expanded her education by attending the University of Akron, where she earned her Master of Arts degree in Marriage and Family Therapy, along with community counseling. She later earned her school counselor degree from the University of Akron. Prior to working at Akron Public Schools, Morgan worked for the Greenleaf Family Center in a variety of positions. She joined Akron Public Schools in August of 2012 as a school counselor at Firestone CLC and is currently at East CLC. Morgan has a unique background coming from a rural setting to a large urban setting, which has prepared her with the skills on how to work with a diverse population. She is ready to be the coach to cheer her team forward to be successful.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I'm very, very grateful, and I'm excited for this new opportunity for me. Currently serving as a school counselor, I get to see my students and every day, you know, in the classrooms. And I think with the new college and academy, it's going to make learning relevant, and it's going to excite them and give them a plan as to where their direction takes them. So thank you.
Sandra Hanna. Graduation from Cuyahoga Falls High School was the first step in Cassandra Hanna's journey to become a teacher. She enrolled at the University of Akron and reached her goal with a Bachelor of Arts degree in education. Her goal was to become a science teacher. She reached her goal, and she was hired in 1999 by the Akron Public Schools to teach science at Firestone High School. She remained in that position for 11 years. She worked at North High School as a counselor for 2 years before moving to STEM High School, where she returned to the classroom to teach science. Cassandra found this new approach to teaching science exciting and refreshing because she could now expand her approach to teaching science that would ultimately serve her students well. Learning how to adapt and adjust her teaching style to the STEM concept has allowed Cassandra to grow professionally. She can now apply her scientific concept of teaching to help coach her team as they discover new concepts in the art of teaching. Congratulations.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity as well, and I'm really proud to be part of the district that really is leading the way. And 20 years ago in the IB program and the STEM program, and I'm really excited just to support our learners and having the experience to see all of the programs and models that work and allow our learners to succeed. So I'm really excited. Thank you.
And Selena Myers. Ms. Myers graduated from Kenmore High School and received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Marketing and Management from the University of Akron in 1999. In 2009, she received her Master of Arts in Higher Education Administration, also from the University of Akron. She is currently working toward her PhD from Kent State University. She served in a variety of leadership and marketing roles early in her career, and in 2005, she became Marketing Coordinator for Armstrong Cable. A year later, she became the Assistant Director of Alumni for the University of Akron and remained in that position until 2013 when she became Satellite Coordinator for Stark State College in Barberton. Selena's experiences as a coordinator at the college level have provided her with the leadership skills necessary to become a college and career academy coach. She has developed the necessary skills that will help her coordinate her team members to stay focused on the tasks ahead. Congratulations.
Last but not least, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I echo a lot of what my colleagues have said. We've spent a little bit of time together already, so I'm very, very excited to hit the ground running. This will be a change for me, coming from higher education for the last 10 years now, but I'm ready for the challenge. And having a little one who unfortunately wasn't able to stay in the public school system as well, it really got me excited for the changes that are happening at Akron Public and being a Kenmore card. Yeah, thank you.
With that, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Well.
We have a motion and a second on the personnel recommendations. Any comments, questions, discussion?
I just want to say no running. Retract stars, okay?
All right. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yeah.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Also, Mr. President, on item 31 of personnel, I regret to report the death of Mr. John Sparling on March 13th. Mr. Sparling was a 5-hour custodial worker for Akron Public Schools for the past 2 years. Next, Mr. President, I have before me for your consideration 2 motions and 6 resolutions on the consent agenda. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mrs. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasher?
Yes.
And finally, Mr. President, I have before me for your consideration 5 business affairs recommendations. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, or discussions on the business affairs recommendations? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mrs. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Superintendent's report.
Just to add that on during our student demonstration day, I met Mayor Horgan at Jennings, where we spent that morning with the students, and for the most part, all of them participated in their march, which was very thoughtfully done by the students, and even afterwards, a small group appeared outside to reflect, on the issue. So I just want to echo what everyone else is saying, how proud I am of our staff for allowing the students to, create the day that they wanted to have, and providing that support for our students as well.
Well said. I gave my report, treasurer's report.
2 items tonight. The first item is just to draw your attention. I know we received some updates from OSBA regarding House Bill 343 that passed the House and will move on to the Senate about how school districts interact with their property tax owners in the Board of Revision process. So stay tuned to that. I've provided written testimony to the House. I may provide either written or in-person testimony and ask that you do the same. What our standing is regarding House Bill 343 is that this is a necessary process for public school districts to engage their local property tax owners in a check and balance system. It really is. In 343, at some of its roots, removes the public school district's ability to do those revisions. And, to put it in dollars and cents, over the past 10 years, there's been $15 million that has come and gone as a result of this practice. So without this check and balance, we would be without $15 million of revenue. And so it's sometimes costly, it's sometimes engaging legal counsel, but we view it here from our office as a partnership. We always encourage the businesses on the commercial side to have a conversation with us, and I would say about 8 out of 10 times we're always settling outside of the Board of Revision process. So stay tuned to that. I'll provide you with the testimony that we gave the House, and I'll be reaching out to the Senate side here to Senator Sykes. Second item is on the finance monthly reports. Starting on page 10, I've been including a couple different pages, kind of setting the stage for the May forecast. On page 10, you see we're tracking enrollment. I just wanted you to see, we've been talking about for a couple of years that even though looking back over the last decade or so, we've had declining enrollment, the last 2 years really don't prove that out. We've been somewhat stable enrollment. We've seen less students leave Akron Public Schools for charter schools. So I just wanted you to get a sense of what that adds up. Also setting the stage a little bit more granular is our healthcare expense. Some really early data in our response to negotiations from our 6 bargaining groups and the plan design changes that everyone made. Some really good results. I've included our certified and our classified health insurance on those two charts. And as of right now, heading into April, we're running equal with last year's expense. And if you just remember from the previous forecast presentations, we've been clipping at about a 10 to 13% inflation rate. Right now it's at 0. That should also reflect the good work and decisions that we've all made together around the single source provider with Medical Mutual and the engagement of Paladina. And I think that's our ability to negotiate has really strengthened around those numbers. The next slide on that, to give you a sense, that's almost a $50 million spend on our annual budget. It represents about 25% of our budget. So when we talk about curbing inflation and what that means, we're talking about 7-figure dollars. So that's stay tuned for some May. And then the last comment I have on our finance report on page 13, yes, I'm going to give kudos to an area that we actually have spent more dollars, right? This chart,
That's great.
this narrative, if I could walk through this narrative and what this represents, this compares our annual per pupil expenditures, right? It's a basis of which we can compare ourselves to districts all across Ohio. We spend more on staff support than our similar district average. We spend more on pupil support than our similar district average. To the superintendent's comments from State of the City to his engagement with you, those dollars, we spend more on classroom instruction than our similar district average. We spend less on building operations, and we spend less on administration. So hey, that's a grade card, a financial grade card that I think is worthy. So maybe I'll give you a little bit more detail as we go forward in our financial reports with that. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Pennington?
Well, thank you for breaking that out too, because I think that that's an argument that we often make in the community. We've received accolades for that in the past, but it's nice to have it reinforced on a this year basis as well, that if as we're spending the money for our community, we're spending it as much as possible on the classroom and on supporting staff, and coming in under your peers on administrative costs and building operations is a pretty big deal in an urban district, I think.
All right. Committee reports, Stateville Contracts and Board Policy Committee.
Yes, we have several that you'll see in your agenda that are presented for the second of 3 readings prior to approval. Am I doing this correctly, Mr. Alexander? Thank you. Awesome. And thank you again to the folks who helped in that committee meeting. There's quite a lot to go through, and some really, really interesting stuff, including revision to the bylaw 0147 compensation, revision bylaw 0175.1 professional development and activities, revision policy 5330 use of medication, revision policy 5340 student accidents, revision AG 5340B health emergencies and first aid care, and revision policy 8340 letters of preference. And quickly, I might just point out that one of those, I believe it was the health emergencies, there is a giant packet of really helpful information in a flow chart form that's very easy to follow when something happens versus reading a full paragraph on paragraph. So very helpful, and thank you to the folks who made that happen.
Mrs. Falk and her work. I'm always going to say she's the one that got that taken care of. It is really nice to see that, so they don't have to flip through all this stuff. We just go directly to it, and boom, it's there, and you can work from it. So thank you, Ms. Falk.
I'm going to keep one in my house for my son.
Yeah.
Myself more.
When I will say, the day that we were actually interviewing candidates, I went downstairs and Ms. Falk was working on that and gave me a preview. So she was here all day on that Saturday working as well. So I'm kudos to that for the changes and for the upgrade, we'll say.
There was something that the representative from Children's Hospital mentioned during that meeting, that this is not something boards put in their policy. This might be a nice standalone piece to have, but it is really remarkable to have someone actually put it as part of the formal guidelines, so kudos.
Past the cutting edge.
That's right. That's right. All right. Sorry, lost my focus for a minute. It's Ryan's fault. Finance and Capital Management Committee.
The Finance Committee met on March the 19th, and Mr. Miller, myself, Mr. James, and Pendleton were present, and we reviewed the following things. Mr. Miller is passing out for you some additional information. Number one, the consolidation of the administration and op building. The Finance Committee continues to review the financing of 10 North Main Street, and we will bring information to you as that develops. Number two, property tax. Finance Committee reviewed House Bill 343 and its impact on the Akron Public Schools, and Mr. Pendleton highlighted some of that, and we will continue to follow that. And Mr. Miller.
And what we passed out, in addition to this little overview, is the policies that we have that deal with board compensation and personnel recommendations. So we made minor changes to the board bylaws 0147 and 0175 regarding board member compensation and professional development. The updated bylaws have a second reading at tonight's board meeting. Revised bylaws are attached. And in essence, they're going to be, in the next bullet point, the board travel and attendance at community events will be reviewed during Finance Committee. And I guess there's always been debate whether we had to do this or not, and actually I forgot to abstain tonight from 2 items, and lightning did not strike. So I guess we have a comfort level that we don't have to, really abstain from, granting permission to get paid for what we're doing here.
It's because you're sitting next to Reverend Wharton.
I guess.
You saw that right.
But a sample of the board compensation attendance report will be distributed at the board meeting March 26th. In addition, the district's received a total of $488,000 in local grants this past month. The Finance Department continues to strive for efficiency through technology updates. By working together with the Transportation Department, a change in processing van driver payment allows the Accounts Payable Department to save 4 hours of processing monthly. I think that concludes the report. So once again, everybody's got a copy of those bylaws if you have any questions. But the bridge version is we will review it at Finance Committee, and if there's any changes or errors, take it from there, and you'll get a copy of it.
Perfect. Instructional policy and student achievement.
Okay. I have an update with the I Promise School. The new student orientation will be held tomorrow night. All board members, of course, are invited to join the team as the first classes of next year's 3rd and 4th grade students and families are officially welcomed and letters of intent are signed. Professional development for the first cohort of faculty will begin in April for the I Promise School. I have another update with the Lebron James Family Foundation. The foundation met with leaders from the University of Akron, Kent State, Radford University, and Ole Miss, University of Mississippi. They discussed the status of our 9th grade students to provide strategies to help prepare them for college and careers. And as Reverend mentioned earlier, they're part of the Bureau, and they were there to, mix and mingle with the parents and the students as well. On April 14th, 153 of our APS 6th graders will be provided with a special career exploration opportunity at WKYC Channel 3. Some of our students will be featured during the Lakeside segment, which will air on April 4th, 2018. So if you guys want to catch that. I don't have any times or anything like that, so you're on your own. Work is currently underway in collaboration with the United Way and the LeBron James Family Foundation to develop the structure for the I Promise Family Resource Center. This is going to be the first site of a family resource center collaboratively developed with the United Way, which will hopefully be replicated in other sites across the district. We're currently exploring grants with United Way to help fund additional sites. And that would be really a good thing for our families, and hopefully it will generate more interest from the parents and things of that nature to participate, and we can draw them in other ways to other things. Lisa?
You will, I believe at your spot there are these updates as well, so that you can refer back. And also, I know Ruth put in our SharePoints today, so if you don't remember all this, you can always refer back. I am talking a little bit about some of our college and career pieces that we discussed. The first is the campus principal and academy principal positions. There are plans to align our building leadership structure to support the transformation of our high schools into college and career academies. We expect the role of building administrative teams to change to match the academy structure to each building. So we're preparing to propose campus and academy principal jobs to describe, and those job descriptions are going to be at our next board meeting to capture the new role of the administrators in the college and career academies. So if you think about what those words actually mean, a campus principal would be kind of the building boss, and then we would have those that would be appointed to the academies. Also talking about college and career academies, in the experiential learning updates, 5 North students got to attend the University of Akron's Best Medicine Fair. The students spent hours alongside university grads preparing presentations on topics from redesigning a more cost-effective shin guard to improving delivery methods for medical fluids. So they were learning, and it was hands-on and good stuff. A group of North Biomedical students traveled to the OT Staff Development Center and presented to a group of 25 adults, teaching the group how to properly use an EpiPen. And I'm going to let Mrs. Gijic talk for a moment about that, because I told her, because she said, I'm going to talk enough. I said, no, you experienced it. So can you talk to the board a little bit about what that was like?
Demonstrate on someone.
Yeah. Howard would like to volunteer.
Well, it really was wonderful. 3 students from North came, and they set up a simulation to teach 25 adults how to administer an EpiPen. And they hands-on, minds-on, right there, showing step-by-step what to do. And at the end, those adults that were successful, they gave certificates. So it was a real eye-opener for students to come and become our teachers and to share what they were doing enthusiastically and with energy and joy. So it really was a special day at OT to have 3 students from North come over and teach us. So thank you, Ms. Mansfield, for letting me share.
I told her, I said, you are going to light up when you tell that story. I'm going to read it off a piece of paper. So, I mean, yeah, don't you wish you were there now because she told you that story? So, and that's just a taste of what is being experienced and what's going to be experienced all across the district. So everybody's going to be lit up like it's with EpiPens.
EpiPen.
Mr. President, just to remind board members, in that packet is the Dear Board Member letter and the revised job description for the academy principal, which is, similar to assistant principal, but as we do the transfer over to academies, each academy will have an academy principal. So we're not voting on that tonight. It's just for your information, because that'll come at the next board meeting. And also included in that packet is a campus and academy principal position, the proposed time on when things will come to the board and when we want to have interviews, postings, and all of that for your information.
And that was adjusted based on this meeting?
Yes.
I have a question. Would that mean that we have to hire more individuals to be principals?
Not necessarily. I mean, we're going to be transitioning our assistant principals, so these will all be interviews for the academy principals, and then for our current assistant principals who are interested in that, they'll need to apply and be interviewed.
Okay.
So as we look at, a combination of our administrative consolidation into 10 North Main, and then looking at the different academy programs at the buildings, there will be a change out of assistant principals for academy principals. The majority of our assistant principals, I think, are interested. I met with our Administrators Association, and one of the questions was, well, if someone's not interested in being an academy principal, what's going to happen? Well, they can apply for any open administrative position. If there aren't any or aren't enough, you could have some current assistant principals who may have to go back to the classroom, or, you know, may have to, you know, seek employment elsewhere outside of Akron Public Schools. But that's going to be a probably 2 and 2.5 year process.
Yeah, but we won't have to have any additional, hire additional people.
I don't believe so.
Good deal. Okay, thank you.
Is that the same, I mean, insert the name dean instead of assistant principal, the same workflow for if a dean doesn't want to be in?
Though, again, at the academy level, I think we're transitioning those out. So it's going to be the academy principals in place of assistant principal, and of course the dean.
Okay. And I just, and just thinking, we just, you know, hired, was it 5 or 6 this evening? Those are brand new positions. And with these changes, I guess I'm curious, maybe we can look at this in Finance Committee, but I'd be curious how we're doing on our budget that we're presented for, you know, academies and, you know, where we're at and where we're going.
Right, the positions tonight were the previous career, what do we call those? Pathway specialists.
Okay.
We've converted those to these academy coaches.
Okay, so those old pathway specialists, where are they now?
They're gone.
They're gone, okay,
Right.
so.
At the end of this year.
Right.
Okay.
It switches.
Because these start,
Okay.
you know, after
And
our
then
fiscal
the
year.
people
They become.
yeah, all but one is all but one from Akron Public Schools, so those positions are gonna be filled with somebody else, obviously.
Because you had a couple of counselors, so
Yeah.
are we filling?
Yeah, those will be filled. The pathway specialist positions that were central office positions, those are being eliminated.
Okay,
And so we're shifting those types of positions that used to be more central to one in each high school.
okay,
And they're the people who were introduced tonight, they're the point people, they're the ones who are meeting with the businesses and linking all the partnerships. What Mrs. Mansfield just talked about are the principals.
Right.
And these are still administrative positions that were introduced, but they're the ones that are the liaisons with our business partners.
so back to what David said, if I plug in the word pathway specialist, they've got the same options, apply
Yes.
or find another something somewhere, whether it's
Yeah,
here.
Ron Boldry, the first
Right.
one who was introduced, he was
Was
a
a pathway.
pathway specialist,
Gotcha.
and then
Okay.
he applied and was selected.
Awesome.
Is this the same structure that we've been testing at North? Or close to it?
No, it's the exact same.
Exactly, cool.
I'm sorry, one more question. Nobody's losing jobs, are they?
Oh, it could be, absolutely, but we won't know that until after we look at what some retirements or people who may want to leave in the summer and what our open positions are.
Okay.
But there absolutely will most likely be some reductions.
Because we had talked some time back about
Yes.
the possibility and all of the shifting that we're doing, that people may lose their
Right.
jobs. We're hoping that through attrition, a lot of that will take place, so that we don't have a large amount of our teachers, staff, others, you know, losing jobs.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? I don't know. It hits me every once in a while when you hear the committee reports sitting here, like how much you guys are doing in committee. It's phenomenal. So, nicely done.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Ginger. That was for you. Unfinished business. The only item I have, and Tim, I know you kind of gave your report, so I don't know if you wanted to add anything under unfinished business. If it was not clear to everyone else, even though it was clear to Megan and Lisa, because I asked her which clusters she was handling to, Morgan, and I asked Lisa since she was handling to, the new one.
The newbie.
That one. Morgan is on legal and board policy and has taken the ELEC cluster since Lisa has some things going on at East that she wants to keep working on. So I just wanted to make that clear in case it was not clear to anyone. Anything else for unfinished business? Anything for new business?
Yes, the approval of
International Baccalaureate. So we do need a motion on the International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program for Resnick CLC Authorization Agreement. Do we have a
Second.
We have a motion and a second on that agreement. Any questions, comments, or discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Reverend Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mrs. Baylor,
Yes.
Mr. Bravo,
Yes.
Mrs. Lasher,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
All right. With that, we do have a need for executive session. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to discuss the employment of the public employee or official of the school district, 121.22G2 to consider the purchase or sale of property, and 121.22G3 to consult with legal counsel to discuss disputes involving the board and with the school district that are subject to imminent or pending legal action. I'm requesting a motion.
So
We have a motion and a second to recess into executive session. Any other questions, comments, or discussion before we do? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mrs. Baylor,
Yes.
Mr. Bravo,
Yes.
Mrs. Lasher,
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Reverend Walker.
Yes.
Let's take 2 or 3.